All right, we should be live any second now. And just waiting to see if it will actually show up. And there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is my first podcast here on We Love Comics. My name is Chris, and I would like to thank everybody that is listening, whether you listen to it live or you listen to it some other time. I'd like to thank everybody for always taking the chance. And if you want to come on the show, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. It could be a short little episode. It might be longer, depending on the people that want to come in. But I posted the link in the chat section. So if you want to be a part, just click on that. It should be able to take you there. And hopefully we'll have a nice little show. I live on the East Coast. And yesterday we had 65 degrees. It was beautiful out. It was the first time I drove in a while with my windows down and not wearing a heavy jacket. And today we got a blizzard. So I'm sure a lot of people, if you live on the East Coast, are probably stuck at home, which is probably a good thing. So hopefully nobody has to drive in this weather because it's pretty bad out there. So I figured, why not take a chance and do a little comic book video for anybody that wanted to come out and talk a little comics. So the link is in the description below. You could just listen to what I have to say. And if it ends up a short video, that's fine with me. Basically, the topic I wanted to start with, and if people join in, we can always go from there, is what is the reasons that you collect comics? Now, when people collect comics, because I've watched so many different videos of people, and people have so many different reasons about why they collect comics. Some people collect them because they love reading them. Some people want to be completists and just have a whole entire run, whether they read them or not. They just like to know they have like an entire set. There are some people that just love it for the artwork, and there are plenty of people that buy and sell comics as a living or to help pay bills. Some people do it for the investments. So if you want to come on and share your story as to what type of comics you collect and why you collect them, you are more than welcome to, and hopefully we'll get a positive dialogue going. And what I want to talk about, my reasons for collecting comics. Now, obviously, like I just stated, there are always different people that will collect comics for different reasons. To me, there is no wrong way. People will have differences of opinion, obviously, and that's perfectly fine. But if you collect comics for whatever reason, whether you just like the artwork, you love to read them, you love the financial potential of them, there really is no wrong way. The reason that I started collecting comics, one of my first experiences with comics was back in the mid to early 70s. I'm going to be 47 this year, so I'm up there a little bit. And I remember it was probably around 75 or 76. My father gave me, it was a comic book record. It was Spider-Man. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was Spider-Man versus Draco the Dragon. And it was a little comic book with a 45 RPM record. And that is my first experience with comics. I mean, I still remember to this day the voice of whatever actor played Draco on that record, and I loved it. It wasn't until roughly around 1986 when I collected my first comic myself, and I still actually have it. It is Cosmic Boy. I remember the first time me and my friends were allowed to ride our bikes past our own block. A couple of miles up the road was a 7-Eleven, and at the time they used to sell comics. So I remember I bought a couple of comics that day, but the one that stands out the most that I remember is a DC comic. It was Cosmic Boy issue #1. It was basically kind of like there was a Cosmic Boy with some girl next to him in the middle, and there was kind of almost like a bullseye around. It was like a pink and black kind of cover. I know I have it, and I'll have to show that someday. But that's my first comic I ever bought. But that's when I was younger. I started really collecting comics back around 87, 88, somewhere in that area, because I remember the first one that I ever really started talking about to inspire me to collect comics was The Death of Robin. And that was where there was a Batman series. I forget the exact number of the book, but you could actually vote in on whether Robin lived or died in the comic book series. And I knew how people are. No one was going to vote pretty much that they were going to have him live. So I had a feeling that, you know, it was going to be an episode where Robin would die. And obviously back then you'd think, wow, that has good potential. So I remember going to the comic book store and I just missed it by like 2 or 3 weeks. The next part came out because the part where he dies, I mean, spoiler alert if you don't know it by now, was part 3. Part 4 came out when I went to the comic book store. So I did buy that issue, and I do have it somewhere. But that's what really got me started on the road to comic collecting. To me, I always loved the fact of having a book that was desirable. Now, obviously, there are plenty of books that I've read and actually enjoyed, especially as a kid. I used to love, my favorite character of all time was Spider-Man. And there was a particular Spider-Man series. It was about 5 or 6 issues. It went not only Amazing Spider-Man, it was also in Web of Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man, where he got cosmic powers. And I think it was like 5 or 6 issues. If you haven't read that, it is definitely a great story and one I would highly recommend. It's a great read. So I used to read books, but I always liked the fact of finding a book that was valuable. So right at that point is when I started with my friends going to local comic book stores. There were 2 particular stores that I would go to. And I remember going there by myself. I was 17 or 18 at the time, so I had my own car. And that was one of the first places my friends and I would go. And it was kind of like one of the first quote unquote adult things you did. Now, obviously, comic books, I mean, I don't know if you consider that adult or not, but it was a place where we went, and I remember they were like, well, if you want to order comic books, we'll, you know, set them aside and you can pick and choose what you want. We'll have them waiting for you. You come each week. I thought that was the coolest thing. And I remember at one point I was working at a carpet place and we were in an abandoned house. And we ended up, me and one of the other people that did the carpets, we found $1,000 in cash. And we split it $500 a piece. And I think I was like 18 at the time. And I went and bought 5 comic books with that money. I bought Hulk 181. I bought The Incredible Hulk #6, 2 issues of Giant Size X-Men #1, and X-Men '94. All for that $500. Which, I mean, you can't even get one of those for that price anymore. And these were pretty high-end books. I mean, especially when you're talking about the mid to late 80s, there wasn't that comic book boom yet. So I got in earlier before the 90s. So a lot of key books I purchased relatively cheap. I mean, for example, my Avengers 57, which is the first appearance of Vision, I probably paid under $10 for it. I probably paid $8 for it. I remember getting Amazing Spider-Man 23. I paid $20 for it. Green Lantern #2 and #7. For the Green Lantern #2 was $20, and the Green Lantern #7 was $5. You definitely can't get that anymore. I mean, it was amazing. But those of you who've been following my channel for a while know that some of my comics, not all of them, luckily, but a majority of my comics got stolen a bunch of years ago. So it's actually, you feel like a connection with them, which is funny. I think that's one of the reasons why in this community, some people take comic book collecting very seriously, because you do have an emotional attachment. So when somebody does something that's different from the way your point of view is, you might get offended, you might get upset. I guess it's like anything in life, even like you go as far as religion or something. If somebody has a different religious belief or they just mock what you do, it could get you very defensive. So in a way, I could understand that. I am one of those visually oriented people where I could see a cover and I'll know exactly what that book is about. I may not always remember the exact number of the book, because I mean, you're talking literally hundreds of thousands of different books out there. But if I see a cover, I'll know pretty much what that book represents. And to me, it's always been fun to get books that people enjoy looking at. Like, for example, getting my X-Men #1 recently. And if you didn't see my top 30 video, check that out because I just recently got that. It was my first major #1 comic I've ever gotten. But even back in the days, I mean, I had Avengers 2, 3, 4, 8, and I paid under $50 for a piece. I had, um, let's see, what's another big one? X-Men #2, I bought probably $120 at most in like 8.5 to 9.2 range. I mean, it was incredible. Tales of Suspense #39, the second appearance of Iron Man and the first appearance of his gold armor. I probably paid $50 for that book. So there is that emotional attachment, but I always love the fact that they could be valuable. Now, I know some people read books, and that's all the only reason why they buy books, and that's perfectly fine. And you could see a lot of people, and I've seen it on hundreds of different comic book channels, that they'll show books and they'll show their more expensive ones. I mean, most people are not going to be showing, Marvel 2-in-1 number 14 or 15, or Marvel preview of something that's not relevant. So there is that attachment and that pride of saying, look, I have Hulk 181, or I got the first appearance of, some major character and I only paid $100 or less for it, or I bought it, the day it came out. Remember one of the videos on one of my old live shows, remember Mr. White Gloves, and if you watch my videos, you'll know who he is, great guy. He was talking about the fact that, he bought X-Men 94 on the shelves the day it came out. I mean, that's an amazing thing. So there is that connection. So I would love to hear, whether you're listening to this live or in the comments section, what you guys think about the comics that you have. What is it that you love about them? What are the reasons why you collect? And do you have that emotional attachment? And Last Avenger 85, and welcome, and there's a couple of people watching, I think they're just sitting back and listening. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoons got me into comics. I loved that TV show because you had Peter Parker, of course, with Spider-Man, and then you had Iceman, I think Bobby Drake, and you also had Firestar. And I remember that cartoon. I used to love watching that cartoon. I even went as far as watching a little bit of the 90s X-Men. At that point, the 90s X-Men, I was in my 20s, so I wasn't watching cartoons that often anymore. Obviously, when you're in your early 20s, you're drinking and hanging out with your friends and hanging out with girls and stuff like that and partying. So I didn't watch as much, but I did watch a couple of times of the X-Men. Because, back in the 80s especially, I mean, Saturday morning cartoons were the way to go. And they did a lot of stuff that had to do with, the Transformers, G.I. Joe, like this Amazing Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I mean, I still remember the theme song for the early Spider-Man TV show. I also remember I used to love watching The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby. That was a great show, and I could still to this day hear that almost like that depressing piano music when he's walking away, and usually walked away in the rain. That was a great TV show with Lou Ferrigno playing the Incredible Hulk. I mean, those are things that get people into comic book collecting, and there is such a diversity, and that's what I think some of us forget about, is that like anything in life, there are different reasons for what we do. Like somebody may have the money, I wish I did, but to buy multiple cars. Some people buy them because they love just saying, look, I have a Lamborghini, I got a Ferrari, I also have a Porsche, but I also have a 1962, BMW or Volkswagen Beetle or something. Some people are buying things for investments. I mean, there would be no stock market if people didn't want to put their money into something that could make potential money. And I think that's the thing about comic books, is you can have a book that you just love to read as a child, and that same book could be worth thousands of dollars depending on what it is. And to me, that's always a beautiful thing, that you can have something that you love that could actually return an investment. Now, I've always made it clear that I enjoyed comic book collecting. I mean, like I said, I've read many books. I can't read them all. I mean, I have probably 30,000 comic books. I mean, it would take a lifetime to be able to read them all. Nobody reads their entire collection, but we do read what our favorites are. But a lot of books that I bought have intrinsic value and have potential. That's why on my original channel, I used to always make videos saying, this is the type of book you might want to look for. that could potentially be worth something later on. And those got my biggest views. So it's obvious that a lot of people like that. But I think the problem is when emotions run high, I think there are people in this world with anything that if somebody does or thinks in a different way, it's almost like maybe they're getting offended instead of saying, you know what, as long as we enjoy what we do, we're actually helping the industry to continue. And I learned that back in the 90s when basically the comic book world came to a screaming halt. They got way too greedy. They were doing all of these fancy covers with the, the glistening things and the 3D and the glow in the dark and the gold versions of comics. And the death of Superman was probably the beginning of the death of comics back then. They overdid it. They flooded the market with millions of comic book printings. I mean, we complain today about 200,000-300,000 printing, and they were doing 5 to 8 million of a comic book. I mean, if you look up like the X-Men #1, the 90s series, and Spawn #1, and books like that, I mean, to this day, because they're so oversaturated, you could find some of them in the dollar bin still waiting for somebody to buy it. So there is speculation involved. So I can understand where there is a part of the community that wants to read books. There's a part of the community that loves the artwork. I mean, I've seen people in this comic book channels that make their own comic books. To me, whether I agree with the person, like the person, whatever, I give a lot of credit to somebody that would actually spend their time and their effort and their money to try and build something and create something. Back when I did some kind of, I think, a contest or something, or I told people if they want to send me some artwork, I'll show it. I still have the artwork that 3 people sent me. It's hanging up on my wall. To me, it's amazing, and it's funny because I've said so many times that I have my comics for investment purposes. I've sold, I think, a total of 5 or 6 books in the last 2 years. I have like 99% of the books I've always had. Like, for example, and I'll do a video of it one day, the first book that I ever bought was that Cosmic Boy #1. I still have that original book. I still have all the 90s books. I still have all the books that are worth money. The only ones I even sold were ones that I had extras of when I did my unboxing video, and I got 5 of the Batman v Superman, all graded 9.8. I sold 4, I think either 4 or 5. No, because I had 6 of them, and I sold 5 of the 6 and kept the 9.6 for myself, sold the 9.8s, and that got me to buy a couple more comics. But other than that, I've kept every single book that I have. And I think for me, what a beautiful thing about this stuff is, I mean, if you sell a book, you can always buy another one. And that's what I learned when my books got stolen. And it actually made me appreciate them that much more when I would get another one of them back. And I used to do videos all the time from when I would get a book that was once stolen from me, and I end up winning it on eBay or buying it on eBay or finding it in a comic book store. I just appreciated it that much more. So the amazing thing is, no matter how attached you are to it, if you ended up having to sell it, well, you can always get another one. And you'll still have that nostalgia. You'll still have that memory. Because even though, for example, The Death of Robin was a book I never purchased in my youth because I missed it by 1 month. And I ended up, it was just so pricey at one point, I just never thought about it, that 2 years ago, when I finally did get a copy, it was just nostalgic for me. I went back to being a child again, a teenager. And to me, that's what it should be all about. So I can understand as far as the community. There are a lot of emotions. There are a lot of people that are like anything in life. You're going to have groups. You're going to have Republicans and Democrats. You're going to have Catholics, and you're going to have atheists, for example. You're going to have all different factions. My thing is, if we all realize that it's okay to collect comic books for whatever reason, and if we all do that, we're helping keep the community alive. And when we all fight amongst ourselves, for example, all we're doing is technically hurting the community that we love. Because when I did decide to leave, there were people that told me that when I left, they left too. They stopped collecting comic books. And that's unfortunate. But also on another note, when I came back, some of those people actually messaged me and said, you know what? I want to come back and collect comic books again. So if we look at it this way, if a person reads books, that's great. If a person doesn't agree with buying and selling comic books, or they don't believe in slabbing the comic books, or they don't believe in the artwork and it should be just about the story or whatever, as long as there are people who are spreading joy about it, to me, that helps the industry as a whole, which helps us all. Because remember, if you were around in the 90s and the comic book industry imploded, for 2 decades almost, nobody cared about comics. There was no channels that would have talked about it because nobody cared anymore. I didn't collect a comic for 20 years. Do we want to have something like that go again? Because we all, and I'm including myself in this, we have egos. That's part of life. But if we can't choose to let them go, is that really going to help a community grow? And I think that's something we all need to think about. It's one of those, can't we get along? In other words, it doesn't mean we all have to hug each other and sing kumbaya. But if we're all into the same thing, which is comic books, no matter what the reason is, if we enjoy it and we're purchasing it, well, we're helping local businesses. We're helping mom and pop stores. We're helping whoever's on eBay try to pay a bill or help put their kids through college or feed their family. Because there are plenty of people I've purchased comic books on eBay where they weren't comic book dealers. They weren't even comic book lovers. They were people that had something that they could utilize to pay a bill. And to me, if that helps them, that's a wonderful thing. Some people may be against that, and that's okay. Because like I've said, I have my comics for not only the pleasure of looking at them, because I look at my comics all the time, especially my graded comics. I take them out all the time just to look at them. To me, it's a beautiful thing. And this day and age with, digital comic books, you could take your very valuable comic or the attachment you have and you put them in encapsulation so you could preserve them because, we have to remember this is paper. Paper does not last forever. And the longer we can preserve it, the more enjoyment we have. That's why you see a lot of books have disappeared. Why books like, the first Batman and the first Superman are so expensive? Well, there aren't hundreds of thousands of them out there. It's because we couldn't take care of them the way we can now. But we're only delaying the inevitable, like life. We don't live forever. We slowly deteriorate, but we want to try and delay that from happening as long as possible. So with the invention of the digital comic, you could take your most expensive books, encapsulate them so they're protected and still have the enjoyment of reading them without damaging or having them destroyed. Because believe me, we've all had that situation where if we took a comic out of a bag, especially when we were beginning comics, and the tape would get stuck on the cover. And no matter how hard you tried to be careful and how slow you took it, the tape would take off some of the cover. Or how many times have you put a comic book down only to have something fall on it, or you drop it, or you spill coffee on it? We've all done things like that. So the digital age with the comic books allows you, I mean, even on YouTube, there are YouTube channels specifically where they will open up a comic book and let you read it. They'll show the entire comic book. Some people do a narration. So to me, that's a beautiful thing. So unfortunately, we're not having any guests today. That does not surprise me one bit. That's perfectly fine. As you could see, I can definitely talk up a storm. People joining in would have been fun, but I wanted to do this regardless. So when this video uploads, if you're watching it days, weeks, months later, who knows? Put in the comment section what you think about comic book collecting. What is it that you find enjoyment of? Give us your, little story of the first comic book you've ever ever were bought or ever your parents bought for you, or any kind of comic related TV show like one of my subscribers or watchers said, they're talking about with the last Avenger, Spider-Man and his amazing friends. And Comic Book Lover Omega says, for me, it was the animated Spider-Man and X-Men shows that got me hooked on comics. Yep, and there you go. A lot of people, especially if you're my age or a little bit younger or older, you would probably watch those kind of cartoons. I mean, I remember watching the Justice League cartoon, and I was more of a Marvel person, but I loved that the Justice League. I mean, I also love, the Wonder Twins, Activate, form of a bucket of water. I mean, I remember those shows. I mean, to me, that was entertainment. And I think it's what brings the community together. Because here's the wonderful thing about comic books that I think some of us seem to forget, because some of us, and I've done it myself, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm immune, we take it sometimes too seriously. But if you think about it, collecting comic books is something that a 7-year-old can do and something a 70-year-old can do. So we can actually have something in common and separate the sexes, separate the ages. I mean, one of the people that I've always loved on my live shows, and I was glad he was on Chaz's live show the other night, was a kid. His name is, his channel, Spartan Gaming. So if you've never heard of him, go subscribe and show some support. But he's a 13-year-old kid, loves comic books. And then you have on the other spectrum, you have people like Mr. White Gloves, who, let's just say, is above 50. And he loves comic books. And we could all come together and talk about something fun. So I think that's the part we lose, that for some reason we lose that childhood innocence and get way too serious about something that started out as something we probably all did as a kid. And as we mature and as we age, we have differences of perspective. We do things differently. But it should all boil down to the fact that we still have that emotional attachment and we still enjoy what we collect. A lot of people remember where they bought a book, who bought it for them. That to me says that it has meaning, and with that becomes a strong emotion. So I can understand there are a select group of people that do not like me for whatever reason. And my thing is, if they want to make up things about me, that's fine. But if you think about it, hurting the people that are trying to help promote something that we all love basically damages us all as a whole, because it sends a negative message. And that's why on this channel, I want to talk primarily about comics. Now, obviously, if I do live shows and a bunch of people eventually show up and want to be on, because I think most people are afraid to come on here for fear of being judged, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. But I think once people start getting on, and we will have diverse conversations, and who knows where it will lead. But I want it to be fun. And I want to read a couple other comics statements. Mark 1V Comics, Mark 4 Comics says, my brother got me interested in them. A lot of people have that happen where, family members introduce them. If you have an older brother especially, or even an older sister, I don't want to just say that it's only boys that are collecting comics, they may pass them down. I got into coin collecting when I was a kid because my babysitter's brother, who was probably 17 at the time, and I was probably about 6 or 7, collected coins and handed me a bunch of his coins. Let me keep them. And I thought it was the greatest thing. How cool is that? It inspired me to want to start a collection, because here I was having this introduction to something in such a positive way. And I think a lot of people experience that with comic books as well. And I think that's something we need to get back at. And that's one of the reasons why when I wanted to come up with a name for my channel, I called it We Love Comics. And it should be we, because, whether somebody likes me or not doesn't change the fact that they love comics for whatever reason. And that's a good thing. If we let this die again, trust me when I say it will be 10, 20 years before anybody cares about it. And then that hurts everybody. So I think we need to rethink things. Now, that doesn't mean, like I said, we don't all have to be best friends. We don't all have to, contact each other. But I think especially as we age and mature, there has to come a time where we say, you know what, let's try things a little differently. So I'm extending my olive branch to anybody out there. What they do with it is up to them. And obviously, I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's part of life. But, as they say in in a major religion, he who is out without sin may cast the first stone. So let's read a couple of other little comments. And I appreciate everybody that's here that's watching. I was actually expecting it to be a little chaotic, and it's actually being quite nice. So thank you for that. To me, that's a first step, and I like that. But Iron Spider-Man 100 says, my first introduction was the Hobgoblin episode from the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s. Then I found out my library had the Ultimate Guide to Spider-Man, and I've been attracted ever since. Yeah. So a lot of TV shows you could see, especially the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons, inspired a lot of people. It made it fun. It made your characters come to life. It gave them personality. And I bet a lot of people can still remember the voices of the actors that played the different parts. That shows that this has meaning. And I think we all need to just go back to that. You know, I could be serious like the best of them, but I also love being a kid at heart. Maybe some people lost that to the point where they're afraid to get it back, or maybe they don't want it to come back, whatever. But we shouldn't stifle other people's joy just because it might be different from what others may feel is the right way. Like in life, there is no right way. It's just your way. And my thing is, there are plenty of people here that I don't agree with. There are some here that, because of situations that I could say I don't like, but they have the right to do whatever they want, and I'll leave them alone. And that's what I ask them to do the same for me. I hope they will extend that courtesy. I can't control what they do, but I want us to all that come here to just talk about comic books, to have fun, to kid around, to know that it's a place where people can just come and talk about something that we all seem to enjoy and have a similar, addiction to. A lot of times when people collect things like comic books, the average person may think, oh, what are you, 5? And we can't really talk about it. You can't go to your job and start talking about your comic books. Most of the people would probably look at you like, what are you, how immature are you? So places like these videos and others, and I'm not going to say it's just mine, there are plenty of good channels out there, even ones that I don't agree with personally, have good channels where you can go and have something in common, that where you're not judged for what you do. And the problem is, when you divide a community, then it all comes down to judgment again, where you feel almost awkward that, oh, you like this person? I don't like you now because you like this person. Or you like collecting this way? Well, you're wrong. Or you have a different point of view? I hate you for that. And all that does is it hurts us as a whole. So one last little question. I'm going to end this because I didn't want to make it too long. Unfortunately, we didn't get any guests today, but like I said, that was not shocking to me at this point. It'll happen eventually, and I'll do these again. And the title of this is Comic Chat Live. That's the name of the show. I don't know if I'll do it regularly, but I want to at least do it once and see what kind of response. But Last Avengers 85 says, Chris, what are your thoughts on the Marvel Comics being run by the social justice warriors? That's one of the main reasons why I have my other channel. Unfortunately, when it comes to media and anybody that publishes things that can influence people, some can sometimes be persuaded to have agendas, where the easiest way to kind of program people is to tell them how to think. So when you have, for example, like Marvel having their comic books portray a certain image and a certain viewpoint, that's their way of pushing agendas, because like they say, do as I say, not as I do. But how many of us have done things based on some TV show or some movie or some comic book hero? And unfortunately, there are people that know this, and they take advantage of that by using it as entertainment. I mean, I'll give you a prime example. One of the biggest singers in the 80s and 90s was Madonna. And if you go back to her days when she made those movies, Desperately Seeking Susan, every girl on the planet that loved Madonna wanted to dress just like her and be her. So it shows that there is influence. My thing is, when you think for yourself, you never let it bother you. And just for the fact that you ask the question and you realize that there is that one-sided point of view, shows that you're not a person that's easily controllable. It's the ones that regurgitate everything that they've been, told, who don't want to verify things, or who cannot notice the things that are presented in front of them, are the ones that get led down a very dangerous path. So to me, if you want to make real change when it comes to companies doing things like that you don't agree with, and if the majority doesn't agree with it, well, we can protest like you see what happened with the whole Donald Trump presidency. You can see people, destroying buildings and, burning, cars and things, which does nothing but actually create more laws and create more problems and definitely more financial burdens on the people of that area. You could do the right thing and not purchase the product. And that's the biggest thing people need to understand is, you could complain about stuff all you want, but if you hurt somebody's pocketbook by not giving them what they need to survive, well, you could make change rather quickly. So if people really do see this, and I see a couple of people making videos about this very question, it's a very good question about this. Sometimes they make it so obvious that they cannot even hide it, or they don't even bother trying to deny it anymore. And it's just say, here it is, here's the agenda. It's just most people think that's crazy because, some people talk about drinking the Kool-Aid. There's definitely some people out there drinking the Kool-Aid, but not in the way that they think, that they'll just believe everything and just go with it. But here's the thing. If a lot of people out there have a problem, and I have a problem with it, and I'm a huge Marvel fan, if you try and preach government points of views only in one direction, or like they're saying, the social justice warriors, where just trying to point out a certain point of view and not keeping it an open mind, well, if you don't agree with that, you could write in all you want. You could protest all you want. But if you stop buying their product, it sends a clear message. And that's the easiest, safest, most productive way to do things. So that's why I don't buy newer books anymore. I pretty much want to at this point. I mean, I might get a book here and there. I mean, I actually keep going with my Walking Dead run because I have every single comic. So that's the only one that I have as a subscription every month. But I don't buy the new stuff anymore because it's starting to remind me again of what it was like in the 90s, where they're putting out #1 issues all the time. They're doing all these, different fancy covers and too many of them at times. They're doing quote unquote rare and collectors editions and things like that. I'm waiting for the comics to start getting, to glow in the dark again. That's the warning sign. And that's where we need to be careful. So, I mean, my comic book channel is going to be different. It always was going to be different. I don't want to be regurgitating just what somebody else does and copying what somebody else does. I've had many people copy the things that I do, which is disappointing that they didn't even give me credit, but that's what some people do. That's not to say everything I do is original. You can only be so original when it comes to comic books, especially if you're showing a book that probably 90% of the people have shown before. But my channel is supposed to be about being different, to be as accepting as possible. Not always easy, just like it is in life. Everybody could sit there and say they want to be good to the world, they want to love everybody, but there's always somebody that gets under your skin. There's always going to be somebody you disagree with. The idea is live and let live. And if some people can't do that, then that's something that they need to work out in their lives. I'm going to continually talk about what I want. I don't want to be apologetic for my own points of view. And those that want to come here for the right reasons, because they just resonate with what I say or enjoy what I show or like what I talk about, then you're welcome here. And the others that don't, well, you can either try and communicate and we can try and work a way out where there's a peaceful resolution for us all, or we can all go our separate ways and say everything's wonderful. And I see I have a guest here, Maverick. Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, sorry, my microphone was muted. Not much. I'm just walking in from work, putting my stuff down, just about to go put the kids up to bed, and I saw that you were live, so I just wanted to come right quick. I noticed you had the link there. I don't want to interrupt your show. I just wanted to say that I've been getting. I did a little silly little video, just welcome back, we love comics, whatever, and I started getting some thumbs down on it, so I just wanted to come on live and say for anybody, like, I don't care. I'm glad to see you're back. I like everybody in the community, and I just wanted to. Some people apparently, I don't know. I've heard one or two things that I don't know. I don't know if people just don't want to come on the channel or talk to you because they're scared of drama or whatever it is. But I just want to let you know, in person, I guess as in person as I can, being online. And actually, here I'll do one more better. Let me do one more better here. There's my camera. There. So is it working? So that's me.
There you go.
So so people know it's me. Like, I just wanted to let you know. And everybody else, I got nothing against you. I don't know what, I don't pay attention to it, so I don't know who got what against who, but people seem to not want to show their face or not want to comment or anything. And I got a couple thumbs down on my welcome back, We Love Comics video. So I just wanted people to know, and you too, that it's not going to stop me from I'm not going to judge. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to pass no judgment on anyone, and I think that it's silly. And I'm glad you're back. And I'd stick around. I got to run and put my kids to bed, but I wanted to get that out, and I just wanted to say that. And I wanted to do it live so that it wasn't just me leaving a comment, because anyone can leave a comment. And fake people, I know fake people bug me every now and then too. And I know that, like I said, anyone can leave a comment. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually say it to you and anyone listening. So I didn't want to interrupt your show.
Oh no, by all means. I like stuff like this, and I appreciate that. So no, this is no interruption at all, because I actually wanted to get a bunch of people on, but I kind of had a feeling, because there are some people that just decide, I mean, if they don't like me, that's fine, but I try to extend an olive branch and they just choose to ignore it. I mean, you can't control what other people do. I do want to say in that, and I think that's disappointing that those things happen. It's like, if people want to not like me, that's fine. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. These are supposed to be grown men. If you can't get over things, that's fine. Well, the one thing I would recommend is, if there are people who like what I do, respect the fact that they're allowed to do it. Don't go hating on other people's channels just because they happen to like what I talk about. I mean, that's just going a little crazy. So I saw it, like when I just did yesterday, or was it earlier today? It was actually earlier today, that I did the my tag video, and I made an original one. I wanted to do one where you can do your top 10 comics that you bought that you thought were going to go through the roof and ended up being worthless. And I thought that was an original, different one that no one's ever done before. And the people that did it absolutely had fun with it. And I encourage anybody to do it, even if you weren't tagged. But there were people that were getting thumbs down just because it said the word "We Love Comics." And to the comic book community, for people who do that, and they always do it anonymously, which to me is disappointing. I mean, man up if you're going to be rude and obnoxious. You know, at least have the courtesy to show yourself of who you're doing it. I mean, I get all these anonymous people, but you know what? That's where I have to say to the people to grow up. Because if you want to hate me, that's fine. If you want to believe rumors from a chop-up video back in 2012, if you're that much into believing anything that you're told, I'm fine with that. But don't bother people with their right to like who they want to like. It's just rude and uncalled for and very childish. So I'm actually glad you came on, and I give you a lot of respect for this.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, right? And people are silly. That's a nice way I can put it. And it bugs, like the thumbs down and stuff. I don't care, but some people do, and some people might avoid watching videos or doing stuff that they like, whether it's you or anybody else. I don't think that I just want everyone to know what they already know, which is if they would listen to themselves, they would already know it doesn't matter what other people think. Like what you like. That happens to some of us in school in our young years, where you like something, but your friends don't, or someone picks at you at school or something, and slowly you get out of liking that. Next thing you know, you're in your mid-teens, early 20s. You got nothing to do with your favorite hobby because of that. And I just think that people should know that you don't worry about it. Who cares if you get a thumbs down? Who cares what people think? You do you. That's all you got to do. If you don't like someone, leave them alone. If you're not interested in something, don't watch a video. If you watch a video and you don't like it, thumb it down and leave a comment. You know, but don't. I get the same thing. People send me messages and emails anonymously sometimes, and I always say on my videos, you can send me a message, you cannot like me, but leave a comment. I mean, don't be scared for people to see who you are. And it goes with what you like too. Like me, I like all kinds of different comic channels. I like your channel and a million others. And I just wanted you and everyone to know live, not in a comment, that I think that, for one, I'm not going to not watch someone just because someone else, right? And I just think it's important. Everybody needs to think for themselves and listen to themselves. That's important. Listen to yourself. You know what you like. If you like We Love Comics, come on the show, leave a comment, give a thumbs up, watch the videos. If you don't like We Love Comics, don't watch. No, it's not easy. And so I got to put my kids to bed, but I really thought it was important. I really wanted to get on and do that because I haven't seen, I miss a lot of things too. It might have happened, but I never seen anyone actually come on and say, like, hey, Chris, welcome back. And I think everyone else, just so you know, you can hate me if you want, but I'm going to watch the channel, smarten up. Right? So I just want to say that, and I didn't mean to segue you or ruin,
No, it means a lot to me, because I think most people are afraid of being judged. Most people want to sit back and, it's like almost like Donald Trump voters. The reason that he ended up winning is most people didn't want to admit that they wanted to vote for him because they were afraid of the repercussions. because people are so into judging other people for their right to have a point of view that I think it's almost like me. I'm almost like the Donald Trump of the comic book world, that it's like people are almost afraid to admit they like me because others will chastise them. And it's been proven that, you know, in the beginning on my first channel, it wasn't really the thumbs down that bothered me. It was the ones who pretended that they were my friend, who would go on my live shows and actually admitted that they were using me. And they pretended. And also, when I would prove that their lies were lies, they still didn't believe me. That's when I shut my channel down. I'm like, okay, I love comics, but if I have to continually defend my honor against a bunch of strangers who don't know me, and no matter what I do, they're going to attack me anyway, in the grand scheme of things, they're just comic books, and it's not worth my health. And that's when I just decided to shut it down.
Yeah, you can enjoy the hobby without. I mean, when you go on YouTube like this, maybe I won't go. Maybe not as far as doing a service, but you're not hurting anything. And whether it's you or anyone else, and me, I mean, when I go on YouTube with my stuff, I can enjoy my hobby and not broadcast it. But I do in case someone wants to watch it, in case someone enjoys it, in case I say just one out of a million things that maybe they didn't hear yet. And you know, like I said, I just think if you don't like it, don't watch, right? Yeah. Everybody, but of course, we all know the world doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So
the people that say they don't want drama thrive on it. I've seen so many other videos since I've been gone. I've been catching up on what's been going on with people that I enjoy. I won't listen to the ones that I know absolutely hate me because, like you said, I don't, you know, you don't watch what you don't like. So I've never even gone into any of their channels since I've been back. But I've seen even channels that I do like, other people having drama and like picking sides. I'm like, there has to come a time where you realize, wait a minute, I'm an adult. I may not like or agree with somebody else's point of view, but I should at least in a free society allow them to have the right. And to me, that's the way it should be. So my average videos right now have 30 to 40 thumbs down on every single video. If that's their badge of honor, that they have to do it anonymously, you know what? Congratulations on your achievement. I'm here for the 10, 20, 15 people that do enjoy what I do. And if people keep watching, then obviously I'm providing something that at least one person likes. And that's what it should be about.
Yeah, and I agree. You know, if it's like I say, you don't need the stress of all that crap. You can do it offline and enjoy it and not have these problems. But, you know, if you're going to broadcast it, I think, you know, and a lot of people do their own broadcasting too. And it's like, you know, if you don't, I don't know how to say, you know, just like I said, if you don't like it, don't watch it. If you feel like the only thing that you can do to make yourself feel good is to anonymously thumb down or send an anonymous message, well, you got to sit down and think about what that says about you. You know, but anyway, I got to put the kids to bed. I didn't want to take too long of your time. I thought it was important that somebody, I don't know if it's already been done, but I thought it was important that somebody not be scared to show their face and be like, look, here I am. And just because you say whatever, I've had lots of friends that don't like each other, and I'm still friends with both. You know, I watch channels not everybody likes, and I watch channels everybody likes. And
yeah. And you could watch ones of people I absolutely can't stand, and I would never stop you from doing it. I wish other people would. So, Maverick, before you go, tell everybody about your YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to subscribe and check you out, they can.
Oh, it's just a small channel. Just Maverick Freelance, and I started off, it was supposed to be a comic channel. It is a comic book channel, kind of. I talk about comic books, comic hauls, comic reviews, but I also, all kinds of things. Really, it's just a miscellaneous Lifetime Network channel. But
when you get the opportunity later, post the link to your channel on the comment section when this uploads, because that's one thing I always want to do. I want to promote channels, so I appreciate you coming on, and it does mean a lot, so thank you for that, because unfortunately, most people are going to be afraid of sitting out there thinking they're going to be chastised by the comic police.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, eventually, the day will come where we can all get along, and we don't all got to be best buddies and hold hands, but maybe the day will come where we can all get along eventually.
And just talk about the thing that we love that can help the community continue to grow, or we can destroy it from within based on our own egos and hatred. That's up to the people in society. So.
Yeah, well, one way or another, as long as as long as I do me, you do you, and they do, you know, whoever you are listening, just you do you. You know, don't worry about other people. You do you, and everything will turn out all right.
Perfect. You couldn't have said it better. So, Maverick, thank you very much. And if I ever do live shows, you are more than welcome to come on. And you were not a burden at all. I appreciated it. It means a lot to me.
Well, it's when I get the kids all to sleep there, I'll see if I can stop back. But until then, you know, or until next time, have a good show. And everybody watching, just I know I ain't nobody special, but at the very least, I'm just another regular person telling you, if you're listening, listen to Maverick Freelance. You do you.
There you go.
Don't worry about other people. So have a good night, guys. I'll try to stop in later. If not, I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, man. Have a good night. All right, and that meant a lot to me, because that's one of the things I noticed is a lot of people are almost afraid to admit that they enjoy me, because there are other people, unfortunately, that will attack them or hurt them or insult them. And I've seen comments from people saying, "Oh, I can't believe you like We Love Comics," and you know, it's disappointing that people have to do that. If you want to believe that I'm a certain way that some people are saying, you know, go to my other channel, and you know, there's an old saying that says, by their deeds you shall know them. And my videos are all about trying to help other people. Even when I had my original channel here, I mean, I was doing, when I started, and I was the one that came up with the online auctions, the comic book auctions, with no one else will give me credit for, but they'll use them, and that's fine. But I didn't charge any fees. I didn't charge any percentage. I didn't want anything. And I spent hours of my own free time helping even some of the people that for some reason now all of a sudden can't stand me because they believe rumors that they can't even prove. I let them on selling their own products to help them. I did show after show. Like, what did I do? 4 shows? And I did comic book channels every day, 6 days a week. I dedicated myself to helping people. So yeah, it was hurtful when people that I thought were friends would do that. But you know, that's like life. You can't help it. This time around, it's going to be different. Now, I did go on Chaz's live show the other night, and we obviously didn't talk about comics. But to me, you know, nobody is going to do a live show where they're going to talk nothing but comics. And if they do, they're kidding themselves. So I'm going to read just a couple of the other comments, because I see we got a couple more people. And Maverick, again, I want to thank you for that. That really meant a lot. And then we're going to call it a night. So I don't want this to be too long, because it usually takes too long to upload. But let's see. We got Comic Lover Omega says, well said, brother. Thank you. Comic Nerd 1997 says, hey, everyone. How's everyone going? Hopefully I'm doing well. Hopefully everybody else is. Stephen Higgins says, welcome back, Chris. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Same as Tevya Smoka. And that's another one I want to say about Tevya. He's been one of the people that have been following me for a very long time. Now, I don't know if he has, Tevya, and please, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't know if you have some kind of physical illness or anything like that. So forgive me if you don't. But there were a bunch of people that used to not like when I had you on because of, for whatever reason. And I'm not going to stop somebody just because they might have a disability, whether it's mentally or physically, or have some kind of problem with speech impediments or something like that. I wanted you on because I appreciated you coming on. And there were others that said they wouldn't go on the show. Now, obviously, I'm not going to point anybody's names out. I'm not going to do that. But that's what my channel was supposed to be about, welcoming everyone. And unfortunately, there were some that took advantage of that. And somehow, when I defended myself, I got chastised. And that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm Jesus Christ and I'm a martyr, you know, because obviously I didn't handle everything right. And, you know, I'm Irish, English, and Italian, and I can be stubborn at times. And being 46 going on 47, I'm a little set in my ways. But, you know, you live and you learn. David Ross says, the thumbs down, what blank have nothing better to do and they should really get a life. Unfortunately, this is what my channel is going to be about. There are going to be some, and I'm not going to mention who they are, but I know who they are. You know, if they want to do it anonymously, that's fine. They're too afraid to come here. That's fine. But you're going to notice that if you go on my channel, you're going to see dozens of thumbs down from people that will just automatically thumb them down. I look at the analytics, and you could see they go from one video, click the thumbs down, go to the next, click that, and go to the next. It shows in the analytics. So, you know, if that's the achievement, you know, more power to them. My channel's going to be for the people who want to talk about comics or listen to what I have to say and just find some form of enjoyment from it. I'll still get the stalkers, because I can guarantee you there's a few of them watching right now, and as soon as I mention it, they'll probably sign off for a second. But they, for some reason, they're addicted to me. And, you know, that's on them. So last one, there's 2 more. Justin Hoffman says, I came here because this group of people actually share my same hobby. I'm in a community that comic books are practically non-existent, so this keeps me sane. Absolutely, Justin. I thoroughly believe in that. Like I was saying earlier, We normally can't go to work or, go out to clubs and start talking about Amazing Spider-Man or the first appearance of, the Incredible Hulk. But yet here we can, and people won't make fun of you for the most part, unless you don't think their same way. So you can get that sense of community. And unfortunately, there are some people that I would like to call negative Nancy's that are going to hurt the community, because if you stop somebody from having the right to choose who they like because you bully them, you're hurting the community, because a lot of people left collecting comic books when all this stuff happened, and that's just not going to help the community. It's not smart. Some people need their anger to be released in a more positive way. Maybe donate to a charity or save a puppy. You know, being so angry because of my right to think the way I do, it's just disappointing, and I hope people get over it. And then we have Gary, a comic noob, which I always loved having you on the show, dude. You were totally a fun person to have on, says hello. So with that being said, I'm going to put an end to this. Who knows if I'll do another live show or not? One of the things about my channel is I'm going to think of some new things. If you haven't had the opportunity to see my latest tag video, it's a fun one. I watched so far all the people that, like, I think 4 or 5 people that I tagged have already done the videos, and they were having fun with it because it was something different. It was something original. And that's what I try and do on this channel. So if you haven't had the opportunity to watch it, please do. And if you want to participate, even if you weren't tagged, post the link to your video on that in the comment section of that video. So this way somebody might come along and say, you know what, I want to check this person's video out, and you might get a new subscriber. So, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm going to help promote you. If people want to take advantage of that or pretend to be my friend or use me, I know some people that pretend to be friendly for alternative motives, and that's fine, because that's on them, not on me. There are some people that are here that are genuine. That's on them. It's up to them who you want to be. But like anything in life, if you're afraid to do something because other people might intimidate you, that's one of the reasons why we have things like the social justice warriors, especially in comics and in other parts of the agenda. There's a reason why it has a name, because enough people are doing it. It's because most people choose to stay silent out of fear. Well, like I've said before, if you've watched my videos, I've gotten death threats before. I've had people harass my family from my points of view and my right to have that point of view. That's not the way to live life. So I'm just going to stand up. I'm going to stand out. And I'm just going to be something that I guess will be a thorn under some people's feet. But I'm not intending to try and do that. I just want to be me. And those who appreciate that, you're welcome here. Those that want to create hate, you'll continue to do it anonymously and take things out of context. There's not much I can do about that. But anyway, we're getting on a little rant here. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. All of the people that decided to come here, whether they did it anonymously or not, the people that all said the nice words and made their little posts in the live chat. This was a good first show, and I'm sure there will be views, especially from people who don't like me, which I guess there's probably a couple of thumbs down already. Let's see, 6 thumbs down. One thing I want to say about anybody worrying about thumbs down, this is why I don't bother about it anymore. YouTube sees the thumbs up and thumbs down as the same thing. They see it as traffic to your channel. So basically what they're doing by thumbing down my video, you have to go to it, even when they do the 1 second just to thumb it down. You're creating a traffic, according to YouTube, to my channel. So it actually helps put me up higher on the list. So they're actually helping me. So anybody out there, if you want to thumb down the video, if that's your enjoyment and achievement of life, please do. That's fine. It doesn't bother me anymore. And if people want to make up stories and lies, and that's fine. But one thing I do ask, if somebody makes a tag video about me or decides to say, welcome back, don't go there and attack them. Don't go there and spread hate. Don't go there and thumb down their videos just because you don't like me. That's immature. And if you're going to do it, that's on you. So if you want to spend your life hating somebody for their point of view, you might want to look in the mirror. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody. I want to apologize for my negative parts wherever I contributed here and there, because like I said, I'm not an angel in all this. I'm just me, and there's not much you could do about that. And next video will be all about comics, and hopefully people watch the beginning of this and will do their little stories, share their stories of what got them into comic collecting. And Maverick, thank you for being the one person that came on the live show. Eventually we'll get more people back up again, and if we don't, then hey, it'll be a one-man show. I can do it. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Thumb it up or thumb it down, depending on what you want to do. And don't forget, it's not you, it's not I, it's we love life, liberty, and the pursuit of comics. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Be safe if you have to drive tonight, especially if you live on the East Coast. Good night, everybody.